This is First Coast News on your side. We begin with breaking news.
Well, we are covering several breaking stories right now. First, we have a crash shutting down the northbound lanes of 295 near Normandy Boulevard on Jacksonville's west side. This is a live look at the scene. You can see a semi overturned, laying on its side there, stretching from shoulder to shoulder. Multiple emergency vehicles are on scene. It happened shortly after 11 this morning, and the backup there, as you can imagine, stretches for several miles at this hour. Also breaking new at noon, the suspect in a deadly hit-and-run crash is behind bars. Florida Highway Patrol says Gerlin Mendez has been arrested in the death of a 15-year-old driver. Authorities say he left the scene after a crash. That crash happened on October 13th along I-95 near the JTB exit. FHP says Menendez was speeding and rear-ended a car, causing the driver to be ejected. The man accused of murder in the death of Georgia nursing student Lakeland Riley has been found guilty on all 10 counts against him. In just the last 30 minutes, we have learned a judge found 26-year-old Jose Ibarra guilty on felony murder, malice murder, kidnapping with bodily injury, aggravated assault with intent to rape, as well as peeping Tom. Now, Riley was found dead in the woods off of the University of Georgia campus. Her death drew national attention to the immigration debate after officials announced Ibarra was a Venezuelan citizen who entered the U.S. illegally in 2022. Ibarra waived his right to a jury trial. He did not testify in his own defense. He now faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. So a lot we are covering this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Katie Jeffries. Our other top story, a construction worker stabbed while on the job, and that leads to a police chase and then a shooting. The suspect in this case is facing multiple charges. On your sides, Tristan Hardy joins us live from Duval Station Road, where the chase ended and the suspect was shot multiple times. So Tristan, what's the latest, and do we know how the construction worker is doing?
Katie, I can tell you that victim is expected to be okay. According to the arrest report, he was stabbed in the arm. And as far as the suspect in this situation, at last check, his condition is described as critical. Now, we're on Duval Station Road, and the scene has since cleared, and there's still remnants of the situation that happened late last night. Now, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office described this whole situation as random. It started at a road construction site on I-295 in North Main Street. JSO says one of the police officers was there while off duty. And the arrest report shows 39-year-old Benjamin Cubey got out of his car and stabbed one of the crew members with a knife. And that off-duty police officer went after Cubey, and that's when the chase started. And a second police officer eventually joined. Now, authorities say the chase ended at the 400 block of Duval Station Road, not far from a few neighborhoods. And in the arrest report, Cubey, while holding a knife, started walking toward one of the police officers. One of them used a taser, but it didn't affect him. So they said the 39-year-old charged at them both police officers, then shot him multiple times. Officials say it's not the first time Cubey got into it with law enforcement, though.
Like a month ago, he pulled up to one of our officers that was working a traffic crash in traffic. He pulled up to him and did the finger thing, and basically he said, "You're a dead man." And the officer said, "What did you say to me?" And he repeated himself, and then he ended up driving off. They got his vehicle tag information, and they did an information report on it. That's why we knew who he is. No contact was ever made with him on that.
Now, Cubey is charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon and aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer. JSO says this is their 8th officer-involved shooting this year. I'm Tristan Hardy, First Coast News, on your side.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation has found the Jeep connected to a Navy sailor who was found dead. Devin Jeter's body was pulled from a river in Telfair County, Georgia, a week ago. The GBI says the dive team found the Jeep that Jeter rented before he disappeared. It was pulled from the same river near where his body was found and did not have any damage. Investigators are still asking for help on any information on what led to Jeter's death. 36 hours later, firefighters still working to put out the flames at a recycling center on the north side. Let's get out to Claire Alfrey. She's been on your side following this fire since it started on Tuesday.
Katie, that's right. And I just spoke to Captain Eric Prosperove of JFRD. He says the heavy equipment team just returned on scene this morning to keep on tackling the flames behind me. And as you can still see, yes, this is 36 hours now of crews responding here at Atlantic Can Tire Recycling Center. Their goal is to put the fire out as soon as possible. However, since yesterday, there's been significantly less smoke and odor from the burning tires compared when crews first arrived Tuesday night. Fire Chief Keith Powers says what's taking the fire so long to put out is the fact that they are tackling a 200 by 300 foot wide tire pile that continues to reignite. Now, since Tuesday, residents told First Coast News they're concerned with the smell coming from the recycling center. Chemicals in burning tires are listed on the EPA's hazardous air pollutants list. However, Chief Powers says none of the 3 air monitors stationed around the north side are getting concerning readings.
What's happened is as the wind blows it, and it's kind of been blowing to the north and northwest all day, as it blows it, it disperses it, and so when we're metering it, it's not picking up anything that would cause us to want to do any evacuations.
Now, over the course of the meeting, those hoses that you see spraying down, they did take a break at around 10 a.m. for about an hour. However, they resumed to tackling the fire from above, like you see here, with 2 hoses coming down. Now, so far, 75 firefighters have been in and out of the scene for the past 36 hours, and JFRD says they're happy to report no injuries here. On the north side, Claire Alfrey, First Coast News on your side.
Thank you, Claire. And amid recent escalations in the Russia-Ukraine war, the United States has closed its embassy in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. So the embassy cited, quote, specific information of a potential significant air attack, end quote. The move comes after Ukraine used U.S.-made missiles to strike into Russia for the first time during the war, which passed its 1,000th day of fighting on Tuesday. In response, Russian President Vladimir Putin lowered the threshold for his country's use of nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, lawmakers questioning the chief of FEMA over the agency's response to recent hurricanes. FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell has faced criticism after allegations that hurricane recovery teams avoided homes with campaign signs supporting President-elect Donald Trump.
There is a FEMA official who spoke under the condition of anonymity who says that the agency's practice of skipping Trump-supported houses or avoiding white or conservative-dominated disaster zones altogether is an open secret at the agency and has been going on for years. So, Ambassador, this is a statement given to the Post by an employee at FEMA. What is your response to that statement?
We have investigated this incident, and it is still under investigation. We are working with the Inspector General to determine whether or not this is broader than this, but the evidence that I have seen so far shows that this was an isolated incident and it has not gone beyond what this one employee did.
Well, Criswell later confirmed she would request a separate Inspector General investigation in addition to FEMA's own internal investigation. Meanwhile, in Washington state, more than 500,000 people are without power after what officials call a bomb cyclone hit the state. Trees crushed cars, toppled power lines, creating dangerous conditions on the ground and leaving at least 1 person dead. Strong winds and heavy rain are expected to continue today. And for just the second time in the past decade, state officials are issuing a blizzard warning. But for more on exactly what a bomb cyclone is, let's turn things over to meteorologist Robert Speta.
Thank you very much, Katie. This is the deal, though. A lot of people say when we call things like a bomb cyclone, they're going, you're hyping this. You're making up these words that make it sound worse than it really is. But the reality is this is actually a technical meteorological term. It is a storm system that is rapidly deepening. And this is also bringing even hurricane-strength winds along the coast here of the Pacific Northwest from Washington all the way down towards northwestern California. Technically, it is when a storm system, the central pressure of it drops 24 millibars or more in 24 hours. It can happen anytime, but most likely is October all the way through March. We're in November, so you kind of have this transition season with this developing and strengthening storm out there. It can result in heavy precipitation, winds exceeding 70 miles per hour, even hurricane strength winds, and of course, that heavy snowfall in those higher elevations. And believe it or not, storms like this even happen sometimes on the East Coast as well. We call them these nor'easters up towards the New England area. Of course, this is a big bad storm out there, but we also have our own cold front that's impacting us today. And I want to bring in meteorologist Lee Southwick. She's going to talk more about our local weather.
Hey, Robert. Yeah, so while they're dealing with that up in the Pacific Northwest, we are watching these cooler temperatures drop down towards us. Not here yet, but notice how it is on the way. So the cooler air sitting over places like Nashville, still holding on to the 70s right now for places like Atlanta, Montgomery, Columbia, and of course here across the First Coast, where our high temperatures today warming up towards 80 degrees. In fact, we are at 80 degrees in Mayport and in the upper 70s for places like Jacksonville, NAS Jax, St. Augustine, St. Simon's Island holding on to the lower 70s. We do have a lot of cloud cover out there right now, so the front with the drier air, that hasn't moved in yet. Yes, the cooler, drier air, it is on the way. It's just not here quite yet. You can see all of that cloud cover out there, and so the clouds will also kind of hold our temperatures down into the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. A few light showers out there every once in a while. We saw a few showers earlier over Yulee and Fernandina Beach. Some light sprinkles, some mist out there over the next couple of hours. Then we will get the big drop in temperatures. Notice right now, temperatures just a few degrees cooler, mainly thanks to that cloud cover and that rain. But it's not until later on tonight that we start to see a big plummet in temperatures. Just wait till you see how cold we'll be tomorrow morning. I'll have details on that coming up.
30 years after she was convicted of murdering her children, a South Carolina woman now up for parole. We're going to tell you more about this coming up. And in Florida, rescuers work to free a manatee. Stay with us.